Well, hi everyone. Got this practice test here. And we'll just get started on it. Now, numbers for 1 through 3, find the exact solutions. Exact. So we're going to simplify any radicals. We're not going to just put it in the calculator and estimate with a decimal. Of the quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So on this first one, A is 9, B is 30, and C is 25. So X is negative 30 plus or minus the square root of 30 squared minus 4 times 9 times 25 over 2 times 9. We're looking at negative 30 plus or minus, this looks like 30 squared is 900, 4 times 25 is 100 times 9 is 900. So 900 minus 900 is 0. So negative 30 plus or minus square root of 0 over 18. So that's negative 30 over 18. If I divide through by 6, like we're looking at negative 5 halves, and just one solution on that one. This one, 1/2 x squared plus 3/8 x, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, minus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, Ashton, I think I'm going to just multiply through by 8 on this. Audrey, what do you think? And 1/2 of 8 squared, x squared there, that's 4x squared plus 3/8 times 8, that's 3x minus 2 times 8, which is 16, equals 0. I'm going to come up here. A is 4, B is 3, and C is negative 16. This, if I did it right, should have the same solutions as this. So I'd rather probably deal with this than the fractions. And x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All of that over 2a. Okay. Negative 3 plus or minus, this is 9, and this is 256. 9 plus 256, that's 265, and this is 8. 265. That's 5 times 40, 50, 3. Those are both prime. That's not going to simplify anymore. So we could go, if we're doing it like we're doing with the complex numbers, with negative 3/8 plus or minus square root of 265 over 8, or I just leave it like that. One or the other is fine. Now, 2x squared minus x plus 1, a is 2, b is negative 1, and c is negative 1. Solving for x, and I'll go 1, negative b plus or minus square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 1 over 2 times a. 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm looking at 1 plus or minus, and that's 1 minus negative 8. So 1 plus 8. All right, that's 9. That's a good one. So we're looking at 1 plus or minus 3 over 4. 1 plus 3 over 4, that's 4 over 4, which is 1. There's one solution. 1 minus 3 over 4, that's negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2, and that's the other solution. So that has two real solutions. These are all real solutions. Two rational solutions, two irrational solutions, and one rational solution there. All right, so complex numbers now. Square root of 72, I'm going to go negative 1 times 36 times 2. So I got 7 minus I times 6 times, hello? Hi. Okay. Had the recycling crew just come through, so. All right. So I was negative 1, square root of negative 1 is I, square root of 36 is 6, and square root of 2 will be left like that. So my final answer, I'm going to go 7 minus 6 radical 2I, and given these instructions, this is the preferred form of that answer. Rather than 6I radical 2, we have a coefficient, 6 radical 2 times I. All right, now number 5. Well, let's see. 4 times 4 is 16. 0.4 times 0.4 is 4 times 4 with 2 decimals, 0.16. 0.04 times 0.04, that's 16 with 1, 2, 3, 4 decimals, which is what we're after there. So that's the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 0.0016. That's I there, and this is 0.04 here. Let me put 0.04 there. So I'm going to write 0.04I for my final answer there. Oh, actually I'm going to write 0 plus 0.04I there. All right, these are combining like terms. Combine the real parts. The negative 2 plus 7 is 5. And combine the imaginary parts. 3I minus 11I is negative 8I. I'm going to go negative 9 minus 5I minus 8 plus 7I. And negative 9 minus 8, that's negative 17. Negative 5 plus 7 is plus 2I. Now those are combined like terms. This is multiplying. So we'll FOIL. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 10I is 50I. Negative 20I times 3 is negative 60I. And negative 20I times 10I is negative 200 I squared. And I squared is negative 1. So I'm looking at 15. 50 minus 60, that's minus 10I. Negative 200 times negative 1 is positive 200. So we'll combine these two. And I'm looking at 215 minus 10I. Okay, quotients. We are going to multiply top and bottom by the conjugate of this denominator here, 2 minus I. So I need to FOIL. On the top, 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times negative I is negative 6I. Negative 5I times 2 is negative 10I. Negative 5I times negative I is positive 5I squared. And 2 times 2, that's 4, minus I times I is I squared. All right. This is negative 5. 5 times I squared, that's 5 times negative 1, so that's negative 5. So my numerator, 12 minus 5 is 7. Negative 6i minus 10i is negative 16i. This is 4 minus negative 1, and that's 5. A plus bi form, that's 7/5 minus 16/5 I. All right, number 10. 3i over 2 minus I plus 5 over 1 plus I. Okay, two options. I'm going to go with find the least common denominator and then combine and then rationalize the denominator. The other option is to rationalize this denominator, and then just combine your terms. And if you'd like to try it that way, but I'm going to multiply this one by 1 plus I over 1 plus I. And then I got 5 over 1 plus I, which I'm going to multiply by 2 minus I over 2 minus I for that common denominator. Okay. 3i times 1 is 3i. 3i times I is 3i squared. 5 times 2, that's 10. 5 times negative I is negative 5i. Okay. First, 2 outside, 2i inside, negative 1i. And last is negative I squared. This is negative 3. 3i minus 5i is negative 2i. Actually, I wanted to do that last, but negative 3 plus 10 is 7. So I got 7 minus 2i here. This is negative I squared. Negative negative 1 is positive 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 2i minus I is positive I. Now, that does equal this, but now we got to finish this by making the denominator real. So first, 21, outside, negative 7i, inside, negative 6i, last, negative 2i squared. 3 times 3 is 9, minus I squared. This is positive 2. So I am looking at negative 13i. 21 and 2 is 23. Over 9, and that is plus 1, negative 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Final answer. Okay, I don't know why I switched that order now. 23, I'm going to go 23 over 10, the real part first. That's a negative, so I'll go minus 13 I over 10, or 13/10 I. That's A plus BI form. This one, that's I radical 6 times I radical 15, which is I squared radical 90, which is negative 1 times the square root of 9 times 10, which is negative 1 times square root of 9 is 3 times square root of 10, which is negative 3 radical 10. Okay, if it's a plus bi form, that'd be plus 0i, because there's no imaginary part anymore. All right, number 12, exact solutions. I'm going to use quadratic formula again for this one. It's a little simpler than completing the square, maybe, I don't know. But A is 5, B is negative 2, C is 3, and X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC, all of that over 2A. So 2 plus or minus the square root of, this is 4, 20 times 3 is 60. 4 minus 60, that's negative 56 over 10. Four times 14, yeah. That's 2. Well, negative 1 times 4 times 14. That is I. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 14 will leave like that. So I'm going to go 2 plus or minus 2 radical 14 times I over 10. That's 2/10 plus or minus 2 radical 14 I over 10. And 2/10 is 1/5 plus or minus 2/10 again, that's 1/5, or the square root of 14/5 I. Exact solutions. All right, number 13, word problem. Doctors treated a patient at an emergency room from 2 to 7. Patient's blood oxygen level L in percent can be modeled with this formula. We got a domain here of T is greater than or equal to 2, less than or equal to 7. T represents the time of day. Oh, L is the oxygen level in percent. T, not in the decimal, but as a percent. T represents the time of day. T equals 2 corresponds to 2 p.m. So 7 would represent 7 p.m. Use the model to estimate the time when the patient's oxygen level was 93. Now it says as a percent, so I'm not converting that to a decimal. And I got negative 0.0270 t squared plus 3.59 t plus 83.1. Subtract 93 from both sides. I got 0, negative 0.02270 t squared plus 3.59 t. And I believe that is negative 9.9, but I don't want to mess that up, so I'm going to 83.1 minus 93, and I get negative 9.9. All right. I am going to use quadratic formula. Negative 3.59 plus or minus the square root of 3.59 squared minus 4. A is negative 0.0270. C is negative 9.9 over 2 times A, which is negative 0.0270. Okay. 3.59 squared minus 4 times negative 0.0270 times negative 9.9. Alright, so it's negative 3.59 plus or minus the square root of 11.8189 over negative 0.540. Negative 0.0540. Okay. So, what is the square root? And I'm going to go a few decimals with that. Second square root 11.8189. I'm going to go 3.438. So negative 3.59 plus or minus 3.438 over negative 0.0540. So negative 3.59 plus 3.438 over negative 0.0540. Negative 3.59 plus 3.438. That is negative 1.52. Nope. Negative 0.152 over negative 0.0540. I'm going to do that now. Negative 0.0540. I'm getting approximately 2.81. Come up here and do the subtraction. Negative 3.59 minus 3.438 over negative 0.0540. That's negative 7.028 over negative 0.0540. Let's divide that by negative 0.0540. And I'm getting 130.15 here, approximately. All right. we are solving to estimate the time when the patient's blood level oxygen was 93%. Okay, this is too high. It's between that. So the model holds for this. So 2.81, that's pushing I'll go around 3 p.m. Now, so it's 2 o'clock and 81 hundredths. So if I take the 0.81, right, multiply that by 60 minutes per hour, that's 48.6, which is around 2:48 or 2:49 p.m. is a little more precise with that. And I just took the fraction part, multiplied it by 60, and got 49 minutes after 2 o'clock. All right, just two more here. Solve the equations. Now we are using quadratic techniques here. I'm going to let, this is twice as much as this, I'm going to let u equal x squared. When I rewrite that, u squared would be x to the fourth. So u squared minus 7u plus 12 equals 0. So I'm going to solve that. That factors pretty nicely. 3 times 4, so minus 3 minus 4 equals 0. U minus 3 equals 0, or u minus 4 equals 0. Solving by factoring, u is 3, or u equals 4. So x squared is 3, or x squared is 4. So if I take the square roots of both sides, I've got x equals plus or minus square root of 3, or x equals plus or minus 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So square root of 3, square root of negative 3, 2, or negative 2. Those are all four solutions there. Here, I'm going to let u equal 1 over x squared. No, just 1 over x. Let u equal 1 over x, which is this part right here. U squared would be 1 over x squared. So my formula here would be u squared plus 8u plus 15 equals 0. And factor that, I'm looking at u plus 5 times u plus 3 equals 0. U plus 5 equals 0, or u plus 3 equals 0. So u is negative 5, or u is negative 3. Now put the 1 over x back in. 1 over x equals negative 5, or 1 over x equals negative 3. Two ways to approach it. I'll approach it both ways. One of the ways I could think about doing that is negative 5 times x is equal to 1 times 1, and then divide through by negative 5 and have x equals negative 1/5. Or, if I take the reciprocal of both sides, the reciprocal of 1 over x is x, the reciprocal of negative 3 is negative 1/3. Okay, either way, it's your preference there. So x equals negative 1/5, or x equals negative 1/3, no problem substituting that in. And that is that, guys.